So welcome everybody. My name is Christophe Godin. I am a researcher at INRIA, which is the French National Institute for Research in Digital Science. And I'm going to present you a class session on how to create virtual plants on a computer. So the question that we want to address is how can you, by programming, create a 3D version of a plant in your computer. And we will see that this may have some use in different domains of applications. And I'm going to present this to you. So this will be a one-week training session. I will give you the program later on. And I will start this overall training class by giving you some aims of why we are going to, why we would like to create 3D plants in a computer. For this training class, I've been helped by a number of people. I've put their names here: Frédéric Boudon, Fabrice Bénard, Ayane Chaudhury, David Colliot, and many people participated also to the organization of the session: Jonathan Legrand, Sylvie Boyer, Jeanne Abitbol-Mangaro, Jonathan Michin. Okay, so let's go and start with the overall class. So this is what we would like to achieve at the end of this class. We would like to have something in the computer, a program that would make it possible to create this type of output. So here is a tomato plant, and you see that the program is able to reproduce in 3 dimensions the growth of the plant with a number of events that are occurring during the development of the plant. And the question is, why would we like to do this type of thing? So there are a number of answers to this question. And the first that may come to mind is the fact that plants are studied by botanists and for centuries. And like Pierre-Joseph Redouté, in the 18th century, botanists started to study the plants by making very, very accurate drawings of how they appear and how they function. And nowadays, this has been a long tradition of studying botany by making drawings on your book notes. And this is a way to learn from nature by reproducing all the details that you can see and to actually pay attention to the details. And actually, this is very shared among the people that are studying the plants in the world, botanists and also amateurs. And you could consider that plants produced by computers are a bit similar to what we are doing by drawing plants when we observe all the details very carefully. Because in order to build this, you need to really understand how the plant is growing beyond. You need to understand how the organs are developing. You need to understand how they are synchronized. You need to understand their size. You need to understand what is called the allometry, the relationship between the size and the ratios between the different dimensions. So it's quite complex if you want to understand, to build up this type of object, you need to really master a number of things that is behind. And we will see that we need to master a number of things, but not everything about plant growth. And this is where it becomes possible to create such animations. What is important is that, as you've seen in the movie, we have the temporal structure of the development. And these 3D virtual plants, they are good at representing the plant in 3 dimensions, which is difficult to make by 2D drawings, and also in time. And just by the programming, you have this ability to access to the both the spatial, 3D spatial nature of the object and the temporal nature of the object. And it's also very easy to scale up the approach, because with the computer, you make a sort of loop, and then you are able to produce a full scene representing your crop or your scenery. There is a second reason why we would need to create virtual plants. This is the idea to study how plants interact with the physical world. So for instance, in a greenhouse, you may want to see how the light would interact with the plant in order to compute the overall light that is produced by the system, in order to better control the greenhouse, for instance, or this type of thing. So there is a number of approaches that are really trying to figure out how to represent the plants at a more or less detailed level in order to produce these virtual models and to be able to use them in physical based simulations. Here, for instance, you would study how different plants might interact with respect to the light in order to interfere and to produce certain density of crop in the system. There is a third reason why we would need to produce these virtual plants, and this is education. And actually, nowadays you see that the code, this is at least the French way we speak of it, is entering into schools and elementary schools. And the idea is to make the computers more accessible to the different pupils. And not only the computer, but also what we can do with the computer. And what we can do with the computer today is to simulate the growth of plants. And in order for the people to learn from the simulations how all the system would be behaving or growing. So this is, for instance, I think in India, people created a serious game on a mobile application where it is possible to plant your seed and then to bring water and then to grow the plant and then to see how the results work. But you're also people that want to, for instance, make demos for the large audience about their research about plants. And this was, for instance, in the Salon Agricole in France, agricultural fair in France. And the idea was to present to the audience, to a large audience, what is the type of model that they are doing and how this would help understand and analyze the crop that was studied. So you see that in education there is a very large and high potential of using these virtual plants. And the fourth, actually there may be plenty of applications, but I selected really 4 major ones for you. And the fourth one is about phenotyping. So in order to create a plant, either you try to enter your knowledge as a botanist or as a modeler into the computer. But another possibility would be to go in the field and then try to reproduce by some means the actual plant that you see, this individual and not any individual. A bit like this drawing ability of the botanists. And it's a very burning matter today to capture what we see in the plant in the most realistic way, in the very detailed and accurate way, so that we can reproduce the exact structure that we see in the computer. And again, the idea is that with this, we could construct these virtual models. So here, it's not that the model will grow by some sort of a description of the laws of growth. It's more that you capture the geometry as you can see it in the field. And for this, people have been working in the last 15 years on different systems to capture the plant in 3 dimensions first, and also on downward of these systems, on algorithms in order to take the bits that are produced by these sensors and then make sense of this binary information in order to recreate in the computer, in 3D, the image that was captured in the field. So this can be done with different types of sensors. I just show you two types here. The LiDAR, which is a laser scanner, that makes it possible by scanning the scene, that makes it possible to create 3D point clouds about the plant. So this is a picture of the output of such a system on a tree. And to illustrate what we can obtain is this type of point cloud here that you don't see very well here, but hopefully it will be better when you look at it on the computer. So this is the point cloud output by a LiDAR system. And then on this, it is possible to launch algorithms, to design and create algorithms that are going to seek for the skeleton of the point cloud in an automatic manner in order to reproduce in the computer the 3D skeleton of the plant. Okay? Any point, any question?
Do you see the use of, I don't remember the exact name, but with satellites, I know sometimes it's possible to reconstruct the 3D even through occlusions and.
Yes, well, you can reconstruct the 3D, but at a different scale. Here, the scale is super fine, and with the airborne LiDAR or this satellites, it is possible to reconstruct the canopy most of the time, and not the precise, detailed representation of the plant. So it's a matter. The sensor will give you a certain resolution for what you acquire. And it's a matter of what type of sensor for what type of output. Here, we are more at the level of the organs, let's say. We are not at the level of the crown itself, or at the level of a full stand. Okay? Yes, and actually what I'm presenting here, and this class takes place in the context of a European project that is called ROMI, Robotics for Microfarms. Here. And in the context of this project, so the idea would be to design robots that would monitor the crops and that would help the growers to manipulate the field and have facilities to better exploit their plantation, their plots. The idea here would be to have a system that is able to turn around the plant, take pictures, and then in the computer reconstruct the 3D structure of the plant and make decisions about this. It can be many types of decisions, ordering the robot to do this or that. And the question is how to construct a pipeline that will make it possible to get to this decision. So this type of pipeline starts by taking a robot arm, turning around the plant, this is represented here, taking the result in the computer, and then retrieving from the computer the different images. So here you don't see very well maybe, but there are different pictures of the same plant that was in the center of the system. And then we design algorithms. So this is quite novel algorithms in order to extract the information here, to reconstruct in 3 dimensions the plant. So first to get the 3D virtual object, but also to, as I said before, to get interpretation of the pixels or of the voxels in 3 dimensions that was produced by the system. So this segmentation and identification of the different organs is made possible by different types of algorithms that people could design. And this algorithm actually, in the context of the new trend of machine learning technology that has been invading the world of science in the last 10 years, we see that there is a hope that to build this algorithm, we can use the actual data, the actual real data, in order to train the system to extract the right information from the different point of clouds. And for this, you need obviously a lot of data in order to train the system to recognize the different parts of the plants that the system is observing. So there has been a certain amount of work in the project about this, and you can see different plants and the algorithm output just on the right. And you see that the system starts to work, but this is a very simple plant. And we would like to get to more complex plants with more branches, with more leaves, with more hidden structures. And the question is how to make it possible, because if you want to go to scale up the system, you need to get even more data. And this is already extremely massive data. So this is the current bottleneck where we are. We need absolutely massive ground truth data if we want to train this algorithm, these new families of algorithms, to produce these 3D structures and segment it in the correct botanical way. So how to do this? There are two options, basically. The first option would be to acquire real plant data by photograph, by scanner laser, and then that expert botanist or expert person segment by hand different parts of the plant, saying that this is a leaf, this part of the point cloud is a leaf, this part of the point cloud is a stem, etc. And you can imagine that this is extremely time-consuming, this is extremely heavy task, and we are readily blocked at this point because of the ability of humans to do such complicated tasks. And there is another option, that is to create artificial plants on which we are going to do exactly the same thing. That is, reconstruct by this algorithm the plant structure, segment it, and then say whether with this segmentation of the virtual plant, whether we are right or not. Because as we designed the virtual plant, we know that this part of the point cloud corresponds to a leaf, this part of the point cloud corresponds to a stem. And because of this, it is possible to automatize the training of the system. But then the condition for this is obviously that this artificial plant must really be quite realistic compared to what we want to learn. Because if this is too far away from the type of object that we want to in fine reconstruct, then it won't be useful to have this type of step. So we need to be extremely precise and accurate and faithful to real data here. And this is the difficulty. And this is the place where actually it is very important to construct this virtual plant in a realistic manner. So what we want to do in the context of such a phenotyping approach is to use a virtual pipeline where we would produce the virtual plant in the computer. Then we would create point clouds out of these virtual plants. So this would be virtual point clouds. Then we would use training algorithms in the context of this machine learning construction process. And then we would get as an output the trained machine learning system. And then once we have this, it is possible to get back to the original pipeline and use here this trained machine learning system in order to recognize, identify, segment the different organs on the plant. Okay, so this would be the general aim of this type of virtual pipeline for plant phenotyping. And this is one of the major aims that we have in the context of this ROMI project. And one of the reasons why finally we are going to learn how to construct 3D plants in the computer in this class. Any?
Yes, I have a question. So, if I understand well, you mean here that the aim of LP is to generate massive data in order to use them as machine learning input data?
Yes. In this particular application, so LPy is the system to generate its programming language to simulate plants. And this is what we are going to learn here. And from this, it is possible to create full databases of plants by stochastic simulation of plant populations, produce massive data, and then this massive data give them to machine learning systems in order to train this machine learning based on this large amount of input data. Other questions? No? That's okay? And this is finally the type of thing that we want to do is in order to be able to train these systems, but also to answer other questions, the 1, 2, and 3 questions, education, and botany, etc. It would be nice to be able to build in the computer this 3D representation of plants for different species and with different types of constraints related to for instance, to the amount of detail that you want to put in the plant, etc. Okay? So this was the introduction of the course. If you have questions,
I have a question. Is there any other system than L system to generate a virtual plant?
Yes, there are others.
Sorry, if yes, what are the differences between?
Yes, most of the time, you will see. I will speak a bit about this in the future presentation. But most of the time, you have two main ways. There would be many ways to program a plant. One way would be, for instance, to have tools in order to draw your plant in the computer, like with a pencil, and then the computer would automatically interpret what you are drawing in a very precise manner. So it would be super high level.
Direct modeling.
It would be graphical modeling. Okay, so you would sketch, you would stroke something on the computer, and then this would be interpreted as a certain botanical information, like a leaf. I mean, if I do like this would be interpreted automatically. So it was very simple for me, and this would be interpreted in a very detailed manner by the computer as a leaf with all the details of the leaf. So this is one direction of research for people in computer graphics, for instance. where the idea is how, by minimizing the number of input, I could construct very complex plant systems. So this is one way. Another way would be to use standard programming, like procedural programming, where you give instructions, you make loops, you make objects, etc. And then the point is that here you don't have the background already ready in order to design a developmental system, because plants are not any system. They are systems that develop throughout time and that have a structure that develops throughout time. And you will see this afternoon. This very specificity of plants makes it possible to design a way to program them in a specific manner. And that is very well adapted to the fact that these are plants. Okay? And this is where come in the L systems, because L systems are a natural way to formalize the growth of dynamic structures, and in particular of plants. Okay? So by the fact that L systems are one very natural way to formalize the growth of branching structures, they are very naturally adapted to the design of virtual plants. Okay? So in a way, there are plenty of ways, but L systems are locally optimally giving you tools in order to think about how plants grow, and computer tools.
But you need some skills in programming to.
You need some skills in programming. This is the price that you pay.
And the other system is like more intuitive.
It can be super not intuitive. Like for instance, if you start in C++ and you start to code the plant growth, you can do it.
Okay.
But you will need to think about all the details on your own. And to probably, in many places, reinvent what has already been produced. At the other extreme, the idea would be to say, I want oak tree to be placed in this part of the computer, and then you would have the system building up for you an oak tree, but then you have not very high control on what the system is going to produce. And in between, you have a system on which already many things have been developed and written in terms of computer tools, and that you can exploit and adapt to produce the type of plant in a sufficiently detailed manner. So it's this sort of compromise that will provide you the fact of programming with L systems.